What's up, everybody? What is going on? This is Fred Richani of TSC News here to recap UFC 200, Tate versus Nunes. This was one hell of a pay-per-view, one of the best events in UFC history, in my humble opinion, just because of historical significance. The action from top to bottom, it was pretty stacked. Yes, it was marred by Jon Jones failing that damn USADA test, but Anderson Silva came in, tried to save the day, and we had a new main event, which was Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes for the Women's Bantamweight Championship. And Tate, the UFC, made one horrible gamble. I thought to myself, in the weeks leading up to this fight, Amanda Nunes can finish Miesha Tate. Amanda Nunes can beat Miesha Tate. Now, she fades a little bit in the later rounds, but I thought in round one, if she clipped her, if she got her, she would capitalize, and that's what happened tonight. Miesha Tate got rocked early, got bloodied up. I was surprised they didn't stop the fight because she wasn't really intelligently defending herself. Taken down, had her back taken, had to tap out, rear naked choke. The same way she won the title is the same way she lost the world championship. And now the UFC Women's Bantamweight title is essentially the hot potato. First, it was Rousey, dominant as ever. Then, it was Holly Holm. Then, it was Miesha Tate. Now, it's Amanda Nunes. So, since Ronda Rousey has unofficially retired, this title's changed hands twice. Man, we'll see what happens here, but crazy stuff. I do think the UFC should have done Holm versus Tate, or if there is any chance that Ronda Rousey comes back, I think they should have waited for Rousey. Doesn't seem like it because Rousey didn't come out. You'd think that if Rousey is going to make a comeback, they'd bring her in the cage after Amanda Nunes won, but they did not do that. And you know what? If you're Ronda Rousey, you might be looking at this and say, you know what? I want to come back, or I have some inkling to come back, but am I really going to get up for a fight with Amanda Nunes? No offense to Amanda Nunes. Great competitor, dominant performance. Was really humble in her post-fight interview, but she's not the level of star of a Miesha Tate or a Holly Holm. Now, with a few wins, a little bit more of that endearing promo that she had tonight, who knows? But at the moment, Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, those were the money matchups for Ronda Rousey. Holm versus Tate 2 was the money matchup at the moment in the bantamweight division, and, well, looks like we are getting neither. But, speaking of money, Brock Lesnar was money tonight. I cannot believe I am saying this. I cannot believe this. Brock Lesnar, on a 5-year layoff, after doing professional wrestling, where a couple times in a couple matches, including against Triple H at WrestleMania 29, he suffered a few bumps, bruises, concussions. Yeah, he doesn't wrestle all the time. He wrestles only a few times a year. But, wrestling's still kind of physical on the body, and the few times that he has wrestled, they've been physical matchups. MMA, it's a young man's game, unless you're in the heavyweight division. And Brock Lesnar, at age 37, after battling diverticulitis, after being out of the sport for 5 years, came into a fight with a top 10 heavyweight, a legit heavyweight in Mark Hunt, took him down, beat the hell out of him. A couple times he could almost finish him, and he did actually try to finish him, and he won the fight. Yes, that's right. Brock Lesnar, in 2016, while still competing for the WWE, he's wrestling Randy Orton next month at SummerSlam, unless he gets a medical suspension. Get this, 29-27 across the freaking board. Now, round 2, they practically did nothing. Dan Murugulato was like, listen, man, I'm going to take a point. I mean, they did nothing in round 2. But round 1, Brock took some shots. He actually even hit a few leg kicks. And he got Mark Hunt on the ground multiple times. I was just stunned. I figured Mark Hunt was going to walk in there, defend a takedown, hit Lesnar once, and knock him out. Instead, Brock won this fight decisively. Amazing. Just amazing stuff. So congratulations to Brock Lesnar. I have no idea where he's going to go from here. I would like to assume that he's going to want to fight again after beating Mark Hunt, but he is under contract with WWE. So what's going to happen here? That remains to be seen. But I'll tell you this, and I don't know if Brock would want this matchup. Well, actually, I think he would want this matchup because it's a lot of money. I don't know if he'll be allowed to take the matchup. And internally, I don't know if he'd... Look, financially, I could see him wanting another fight. But this fight I'm about to suggest, I don't know if deep down inside he really wants it, given how the first one went. If Alistair Overeem beats Stipe Miocic in September and wins the UFC heavyweight title, it would be such an awesome spectacle to book in December. Brock versus Overeem, a rematch 5 years to the day of Brock's previous final UFC fight. Brock gunning for the title. That would be incredible. And that would be great press for WWE. But that remains to be seen. Will WWE let him? Will WWE have a choice? I mean, Brock is one of a kind. He's the type of guy that after he won every fight in the UFC, or even when he lost a fight here and there in his previous stint in the UFC, he would renegotiate his contract. He's a shrewd dude. Yes, he's a big farm boy. Yes, he's a white boy, as he said, and he's jacked. But the guy is no dummy in the cage. He's no dummy on the mat when it comes to wrestling and ground and pound. And he is no dummy when it comes to making money. So you better believe that the rules, whether it comes to UFC or WWE, you better believe that the rules are different for Brock Lesnar. But all I can say is respect. He is a once-in-a-generation athlete. And if you don't think that, well, I don't know what the hell you're watching. We had Daniel Cormier defeat Anderson Silva, 30-26 across the board. Unanimous decision. This was a boring fight. This was a fight where Daniel just took Silva down, smothered him. Didn't really look like to try to finish him. He kind of just hit him here and there and try not to take any risks. I get it. He was supposed to fight John Jones. Anderson Silva at age 40 is still dangerous. Hell, at the end of the third round, I wish this fight went 5 rounds because Anderson Silva rocked DC. He rocked him. But it was too little, too late. Oh, man. To quote Jonathan Snowden on Twitter, Anderson Silva wishes he asked for 5 rounds because who's to say that if Silva was able to get another stand-up or avoid another takedown that he couldn't have finished DC in round number 4? I mean, really. It's weird. DC dominated the fight by MMA judging standards, and he took the guy down at ease for the most part, and he smothered him. But he didn't finish him. It didn't look like he was actively trying to finish him. I'm sure he was trying to do damage and everything, but he was playing it a little safe. I'm just looking at this from the eyes of a casual fan, a person that doesn't buy UFC pay-per-views all the time, and I happen to be buying UFC 200, okay? Look at it from their standpoint. DC is still kind of not an unknown to people, but he's the guy that John Jones beat to a lot of people. He's not the Olympian. He's not the former Strikeforce Grand Prix champion. He is DC, the guy who won the title when John Jones was on the shelf after John Jones beat him. Which is unfair, but that's the perception. So here he is against the legend, one of the most popular fighters of all time, one of the greatest fighters of all time. 2 days' notice, and he could not finish him. In fact, he almost got finished by that guy who's on 2 days' notice, who's 40 years old, who's 7 weeks removed from gallbladder surgery. So as far as I'm concerned, while I have the utmost respect for Daniel Cormier, while I understand the mental roller coaster he's been on, the physical roller coaster he's been on, I gotta say, even in a dominant win, he did not look good to the casual fans. He did not market himself. This is what, in the simplest of terms, this is not a fight, if you're a fan, that made you want to pay to see Daniel Cormier in the future. Okay? Miesha Tate, Amanda Nunes? Yeah, I'd pay to see those two fight again. Either or, in different matchups. Daniel Cormier, if I'm a casual fan, oh, he's a guy that smothered Anderson Silva and robbed fans of a great stand-up fight. That's the perception, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And Anderson afterwards was really respectful, had a long speech in Portuguese, thanked the fans in English, bowed, was in tears. I have no idea if he's ever going to fight again, but hey, he went out on his shield. He was taken down a lot, but he did rock Cormier, and he did still show that even at age 40, even with 45 months without a victory, the guy is still dangerous, and he's truly a legend. Speaking of legends, Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar fought for a second time. They had a damn good fight. Jose Aldo won the interim UFC featherweight title via unanimous decision, 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. Scores were all over the place. Here's how I looked at it. I thought Aldo won like 4 out of 5 rounds. If you gave the first 2 rounds for Edgar, I wouldn't blame you. You might have been able to give round 3 to Edgar, but I think that's kind of flipping a coin. To me, I think Edgar, if you want to make a case for Edgar, rounds 1 and 2. But Aldo just looked that damn good rounds 3, 4, and 5. Essentially, Edgar couldn't take Aldo down. Every time he tried or got close, Aldo would get back up, or Edgar would just eat a vicious knee to the head. It was brutal. It was kind of reminiscent a little bit of the Jacek and Gedalia fight that we saw on Friday night. Just Aldo, a step faster. Edgar might hit him with 1 shot, and Aldo will fire back with 3. The difference between those 2 fights is that you really felt that Gedalia had some real power behind her shots against Jacek. Jacek was just faster and had better cardio and was more durable throughout the fight. Whereas Edgar, he really didn't seem like he was hurting Aldo, and it's unfortunate because the guy won 5 straight, looked great. He should have probably gotten another fight at featherweight, and not against Aldo, but against Conor McGregor, and had the opportunity to make a lot of money. I'm sure he got a good paycheck tonight, but man, you do feel for him. But Aldo, forget the Aldo of old. This looked like one of the best Jose Aldos I've ever seen. Normally, Aldo in a 5-round fight kind of fades a little bit, gets rocked. Not this Aldo. He looked great, and I'm just thinking, man, what would have happened if he was not finished in 13 seconds? What would have happened if he made it out of the first round with Conor McGregor? And I'm not taking anything away from Conor McGregor's performance last year, but it makes you wonder if Jose Aldo can have that kind of performance against Frankie Edgar, then you know what? He sure as hell can have a performance like that against Conor McGregor. Now, can he outperform McGregor? That remains to be seen. What the hell is going to happen with McGregor? I guess we'll find out after UFC 202 in August. Same weekend as SummerSlam. He's going up against Nate Diaz again, and if he loses to Nate Diaz again, I guess he goes back down to featherweight, but I don't want to call him a paper champion. He's a great fighter and a top draw, but man, it's going to look real bad for the UFC if Nate Diaz loses. Let me tell you that. It was bad that Miesha Tate lost for him tonight. It's going to be very bad if Conor loses. Plus John Jones. Who knows what's going to happen with John Jones? His B sample tested positive, I believe, for 2 separate agents. And unless he could somehow, some way, by some miracle from the MMA gods, prove that it was a tainted supplement. Yeah, tainted with two agents, not 1. Unless he could prove it was a tainted supplement and get 6 months, there's a chance he's going to get 2 years. Yeah. So if Conor loses, Tate loses. If Rousey doesn't come back, GSP isn't coming back according to the Fight Network as per Dana White. Yeah, and if Conor loses, yeah, that's not going to be good for the UFC. But this was a great night. We also had, this card was so damn stacked, guys. This is just the main card. Cain Velasquez looked like the Cain Velasquez of old, destroying Travis Browne via TKO, round number 1, 457. Travis Browne he hit a few good shots here and there, but Cain just mauled him. And I just watched this thinking, I wish Cain would just stay healthy. If Cain can stay healthy, I'm more than happy to watch him fight and buy his pay-per-views. But when the guy fights once a year and always gets injured, it's hard to build up that fan support. It's hard to have a desire to see a guy fight. It's hard to have the desire to see him win the title. Because every time he's won the title goes on ice for like 6 months to a year. Hopefully, he'll stay healthy. Hopefully, no injuries in his future. And hopefully, we can keep seeing this kind of Cain. Because this kind of Cain is a spectacular fighter and one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. Prelims, which were also stacked. Juliana Pena beat Kat Zingano via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Very violent fight. Kat Zingano got close to possibly submitting Juliana Pena. Both just brought it tonight. And with Pena winning, being undefeated in the UFC, come on, man. You got to give her a title shot next. Unless, of course, Ronda Rousey comes back or Holly Holm wins her next fight on UFC on Fox. Kelvin Gastelum got the biggest win of his career against Johnny Hendricks. Another really good fight. 29-28, 30-27, 30-27. It was actually a catch weight bout, 171 and a quarter pound bout, because Johnny Hendricks missed weight by a quarter pound and was so tired and drained, he could not cut anymore. Think about that for a second. Think about that. A quarter pound. 20% of one of the biggest purses of your career. Man, that's just rough. That's rough. But that's the fight game. And if I'm Johnny Hendricks, losing back-to-back, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, losing to Robbie Lawler, now losing to Kelvin Gastelum, missing weight a bunch of times, it might be time to go up to middleweight. He's not going to be a big guy at middleweight, but for the sake of his health, for the sake of his career, he's still got the great wrestling pedigree, it might be worth it. We had TJ Dillashaw get his revenge and beat Rafael Assunção via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. A great striking clinic put together by TJ Dillashaw. He bloodied up Rafael Assunção, busted up his nose too. He's spitting blood everywhere. We had Super Sage Northcutt defeat Enrique Marin, who doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, 29-28 across the board. I give Sage props for hanging in there. God bless the kid. I heard he's really nice. I heard his dad's like the typical Sage dad, but I heard Sage himself is really nice. But this does not belong on a UFC card. And if it does, put it on Fight Pass. This was a major waste of time. Sage is not a contender. I don't see Sage beating anyone of consequence anytime soon. I understand why his camp rushed him to the UFC. From what I understand, he's making 40 and 40. 40 to show, 40 to win. So 80,000 total. For an 18, 19-year-old kid, that's a hell of a lot of money. And honestly, that's money wasted, in my opinion. That could go to Filthy Tom Lawler or Corey Anderson or some of the other guys that have been busting their asses in the UFC. But if you're Sage, you take the money. But he does not belong on a UFC card. Not a televised card. Hell, not even a Fight Pass card. But if you want him on there, put him on Fight Pass. Put him on YouTube. Put him on Facebook. Okay? Put him on Periscope. Okay? Don't put him on Fox, please. 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 And especially not on pay-per-view. My God. Ugh. I don't want to hate on the kid. I mean, he's a kid. All right? He's still got a long ways to go. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We saw some M1 level grappling tonight for anybody that gets that reference. In the Fight Pass prelims, 3 finishes in the first round. Some were great. Some were just damn sad. We had Jim Miller finish Takanori Gomi via TKO. Punches on the ground. Very sad to see Gomi finished in just 2 minutes and 18 seconds. The Fireball Kid is not the Fireball Kid of old. He's just old. We had Gegard Mousasi destroy Thiago Santos via TKO, 4:32 of round number 1. Gegard Mousasi looking good. That's the Gegard Mousasi we all know. And Joe Lozon finished Diego Sanchez, 126, round number 1, TKO, punches. Great stand-up by Joe Lozon. Nice striking display, but just very, very sad. So, yeah, we had some great stuff. We had some sad stuff here. I mean, it was a mix of everything. A great moment in Amanda Nunes winning. Maybe not so much for the UFC's marketing department, but just a great moment, an exciting fight while it lasted. Brock Lesnar coming back to beat Mark Hunt. That was a magical moment. Cormier and Silva wasn't the most fun fight, but Anderson Silva showed a few flashes of brilliance for a guy that had gallbladder surgery 7 weeks ago and came in on 2 days' notice. And it was just nice to see Anderson Silva get that kind of respect and that love from the fans. You know, even with the drug suspension and everything, at the end of the day, the guy was a middleweight champion for 6 years. He deserves the adulation. Aldo Edgar, it was great to see Aldo back to his old self and new self. He looks great. Cain Velasquez, we saw old Cain. Pena and Zingano was a damn good women's matchup. Gastelum Hendricks was really good. Dillashaw Sunset was pretty good. Northcutt didn't belong, and the Fight Pass prelims all delivered. So overall, from top to bottom, a pretty damn good UFC card. Was it as good as UFC 199, which is one of the greatest UFCs of all time? That's for you to decide. But this was definitely one of the most historic of all time, given the platform and everything, being in the new T-Mobile Arena, all the hype around it. And now we move on to UFC 171 later this month, with Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley. A fight that has zero buzz, and nothing against Joe Silva. I think he does a phenomenal job as UFC matchmaker. But this was really a fight that should have had Condit versus Lawler 2, because that might still be the fight of the year going back to January. Hey, who knows? Injuries happen. Things can change. Condit's actually fighting Damian Maia next month at UFC 202. That should be one hell of a matchup. And then we got Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 2. And then September, Alistair Overeem versus Stipe Miocic. And as I suggested before, maybe if Overeem wins, Brock will want his revenge. We'll see what happens. But folks, I want to hear from you. What did you think about UFC 200? What do you think about the future of UFC? What do you think about the potential UFC sale for $4.2 billion with the B? $billion. What do you think about that? That's more money than what Star Wars sold, which I think it sold for like $3.9 or $4 billion. Crazy time we live in. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Tweet us. Facebook us. Do what you got to do. If you enjoyed this update, please like, share, take care. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the fights.